Hello everyone. One of the things I love so much about WordPress is how powerful it is and how it gives even the most novice web developers the ability to create a website that's powerful, functional, and easy to design based on templates, themes, and plugins. One of the downsides of WordPress is that because of its original origins as a blog creation platform, the widgets that come with it are still a fallback to the old days of blogs. They really have very little point except on your blog page. However, they do show up on every page. Now we have some basic control over those widgets, but for example on our home page we have our widgets here, our content centered here, but I want to get rid of those widgets. Now I showed you earlier that we can edit the page and we can choose a full width template. In this case I'm going to use the Elementor full width template since that's what I created the page with. And I can update that, and now I have a full page template in my theme, and the widgets have disappeared. But have they? Actually, they really have not. They still show up on the page. They're just not visible because I'm using a full width template. The issue with this is if you have a user that's on a Mac using Safari, or if they're on a tablet, or if they're on a cell phone, it shows up differently in different browsers. That's one of the reasons why the customizer shows you what it will look like in different platforms. But that doesn't guarantee that your page is going to look the way you want it to for all of your visitors. So the issue is, how do we get rid of the widgets and make sure that they don't show up in places that we don't want them to? To begin, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my page and remove the full width and go back to the default template. And now once again I'm looking at a home page with widgets on it that I don't want. Now you notice all of the widgets are blog oriented. Search, except for my slideshow, the media icons, the calendar, the recent posts, the recent comments, and the archives. Now one of the most useless widgets in all but one category is your calendar. The calendar's only function is to search your blogs based on date. So for visitors who are looking for something that you published in a certain month on a certain day, they can go to your calendar and mouse over and find blogs that are posted on a certain day. So this, for example, shows me all of the blogs that I created on February 11th. But going back to my home page, I don't want any of these things here. If we look at our widgets, we can see if there's any ability to change any of that, but there isn't. The only option I have is to change the title. With my recent posts, I can only change how many posts, what the post date was, etc. It doesn't give me the ability to choose what page they show up on. As long as I've dragged them into the right sidebar, they'll show up on every page that has a right sidebar. Obviously, we don't want that. And we may not want a certain widget to show up in a footer on every page. For example, if I take my 8mm slideshow and drag it to my footer sidebar and go back to my home page, I now see that my slideshow is in my footer. Now to me this is far more attractive than having it in my sidebar, but it is everywhere. So if I go to the Contact Us page, I'm going to see the slideshow. If I go to the Testimonials page, which is blank at the moment, I'm going to see my slideshow. I may not want that. I may want different widgets on my testimonial page. In fact, the testimonials widget is a great option. So I want to make sure that I don't see these things on every page. So if we go back to our plugins, I would like you to go to Add New, and in the search window type Widget Context. I'm going to stop here for a quick moment. Recently I told you that before installing a plugin, it's always good to do some research. Look at the reviews, look at how many active installations it has, look at when it was last updated, and if it's tested with your current version of WordPress. Now, this was updated 6 months ago, and the newest version of WordPress was released sooner than that. So this is untested with your version of WordPress. In this case, Widget Context works with the least updated and oldest functionality of WordPress, your widgets. So it doesn't need to be updated as often as other plugins do to maintain its functionality. So in this case, I'm going to say that it's okay to install this. And in fact, it's one of the best plugins that I've ever used. So we're going to go ahead and activate it. Now if I go back to my widgets and open up the calendar, for example, I have more functions. Instead of just the title, I have a widget context header and I have a full page of options. Now obviously we only want the calendar to show up on one page. We want it to show up on our blog page. So I can go to widget context, show widget on selected, and go down to global sections and just choose blog page. So if I scroll down and save this, and you will need to save every single box when you make changes, every widget. So I'm going to scroll down and now it's saved. Now if I go to my blog page and reload it, I'll see that my calendar is here, exactly where it should be. If I go to my home page, no calendar. So it only shows up on a page marked as blog in my settings under the reading pane. Now I have all these other widgets as well. Now is there a global way to change all these widgets to one source? No, because you may not necessarily want that. You may want some widgets and not others. So let's go ahead and change those widgets that are blog oriented. For example, the search, I'm going to change from show widget everywhere to show widget on selected and choose blog page and save it. Okay, and it's easiest to minimize these because it can get a little cluttered. I'm going to go to my recent post page. I'm going to say show widget on selected, put blog page. Now when you say show on selected, it will only show on that page. It will assume that you want it nowhere else. And my comments, I will change to blog. And now that I have that set, oh, got one more. I've got my archives page. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my archives page and say show widget on selected and choose my blog page and save it. Now if I go back to my blog page, I'm going to find that all of my widgets are still here. They look as they've been untouched. But I'm going to go to my home page and see that I've got, oh, I missed one. I missed the social media widget. So I'll go back to the top and remove my social media widget. Now, as you see, if I choose to move it to a certain page, I'm only going to see it on that page. Now I don't want to do that. I may want it to show up on certain pages and not on others, but I don't want it to show up on just the blog and just the front page. So what I can do is choose all posts, pages, and custom post types. Now I can also choose all pages. However, we're back to where we started. We don't want it to show on every page. So in this case, we're going to choose a different option. For the social media plugins, I'm going to say hide widget on selected, and I can go to whatever page that I would like it to not show up on. Now look at the URL for your site. You may have installed in the root of your site, or you may have installed in the WordPress folder. What you need in order to grab a URL for this next functionality is everything after the slash from your URL. Everything after it, nothing before it. So everything after that slash, I'm going to grab WordPress. Notice I did not select the slash, but I did select the one at the end. So I'm going to copy this. I can go to my widgets, and I can go down here to where it says target by URL. So if I paste that in there, now I'm going to target a specific page to hide my widget. So I can click save. And if I go back to my page and click refresh, I don't see it anymore. So all of the widgets that I've chosen are now gone, and I can rest assured that they're not going to show up on another platform. So I can go back to edit my page, I can choose my full width, and I can feel comfortable knowing that this isn't going to look odd when somebody on a different platform comes to look at my page. Now let's go back to the gallery. I created a footer widget with a gallery that I want to show up on my home page. but I do not want it to show up on my services page. Well, I do, but I don't want it to show up on our Contact Us page. So as you see, it's here, and I've got a very large black footer area that I don't have a plan to put other things in right now for Contact Us. I will in the future, but not at the moment. So I can take out that particular widget just by selecting the URL after my site name. Remember to exclude the slash and include everything after it. So I'm going to copy that, go back to widgets. I'm going to choose hide widget on selected, go down to the target by URL and paste, click save. Now if I go back to Contact Us and refresh that, it's gone. So now I have my standard footer again. But it still shows up on every other page that I want it to show up on. Now in the same way that we can exclude widgets on certain pages and certain areas, we can also include widgets the same way. So I'm going to go back to my widgets and choose the animated number counter. And I would like that to show up next to my slideshow. I'm going to drag it into my footer sidebar 2. I'm going to name it and I'm going to start with the number 2300. Let's just make one up. Now the default is show widget everywhere. Now I'm going to say that I only want to show the widget on selected. And since I only want it to show up on my products and services page, I'm going to use the target by URL option. So I'm going to go back to products and select everything after the slash of my domain URL to the end of the line, copy it, go back to my widgets, and paste it into the target by URL window. And I'm going to click save. And now if I go to my products page and refresh it, I got a fun little counter next to my slideshow. Now I'm going to need to center it a little bit and make it look a little bit more even with everything else. But you'll notice that that does not show up on any other page. It will only show up on my products page, which is exactly the way I want it, because I want different footer widgets and different sidebar widgets on different pages. So now you can use the widget context plugin in order to be able to decide where your widgets are going to show up, what widgets you want on what pages, and have the ability to have custom widgets on each page of your site. As always, send me an email if you have any questions, and thank you for your time.